The storm had started somewhere over the Atlantic, but it had chased Clara all the way to the gate. Terminal 3 at Lisbon Airport was crowded, chaotic, and cold in that way only airports can be. Sterile, yet strangely intimate, like everyone is stuck in a moment between leaving and arriving, between who they were and who they might be next. Clara stood in line at gate B14, clutching her boarding pass and trying not to groan as the screen blinked red. Delayed, 4 hours, she sighed, her shoulders sagging under the weight of her carry-on bag and the lingering ache of a breakup that had unraveled 6 months of her life. She wasn't heartbroken anymore, just tired. Tired of trying to make things work with someone who had never really seen her. Tired of pretending that being alone wasn't so lonely. She wandered until she found an empty stretch of seats near a wide window overlooking the rain-slicked runway. Planes sat still like metal beasts, waiting for orders from the sky. She sat in the window seat, the same kind she always chose on flights, the one she used to share with him, the one where she could press her forehead against the cool glass and escape into clouds. It was supposed to be a peaceful moment, and then he showed up. He wasn't loud. In fact, he looked like someone who moved through the world with a kind of quiet curiosity. He carried a worn leather backpack, a paperback novel tucked into the side pocket, and a camera slung loosely across his chest. His hair was dark and unruly, and his jaw was covered in just enough stubble to suggest either rebellion or forgetfulness. He sat down 3 seats away, glanced over, and smiled. Not the practiced kind, but something real, as if they weren't on a secret. She caught herself staring. "You stranded too?" he asked, breaking the silence. Clara blinked. 4 hours, she replied, holding up her half-drunk coffee like a flag of defeat. He gestured toward his book. "I came prepared." She smiled. "And I just have bad espresso and Spotify." "Could be worse," he said. "You could be stuck here with someone who talks too much." She raised an eyebrow. "That's yet to be determined." They laughed. And just like that, a crack opened in the heavy silence of the airport, and light started to pour in. His name was Daniel. He was from Edinburgh and had spent the last 2 weeks in Morocco, photographing street markets and coastal cities for a travel magazine. He told stories with that easy charm that made strangers feel like old friends. Clara, despite herself, told him about her failed relationship, her love of rainy cities, and how she always packed too many books and never enough socks. Time slipped by unnoticed, and when the flight was finally called and their boarding group was summoned, they both blinked in surprise. "Seat 21A, Daniel said, holding up his pass. Clara looked at hers. 21C. They exchanged a look. "Window and aisle," he said, smirking. "Fate wants us to leave a seat between us." "Tempting fate, are you?" Clara smiled. "I'm not afraid of fate." They boarded side by side. The middle seat remained empty, like the universe was politely stepping aside to give them space. During the flight, they spoke in hushed tones while others slept. He told her about a childhood fear of thunderstorms and how photography gave him the courage to slow down. She confessed how she always felt a little like an outsider, even in love, and how her art never quite captured what she felt inside. Then, somewhere over the clouds, the conversation slowed, and Daniel gently placed his hand, palm up, in the space between them. Clara looked at it for a long second, her heart louder than the hum of the engines. Then she placed her fingers in his N.O. kiss. No sudden passion, just a connection. When they landed in London, the morning sky was painted in watercolor grays. The air was crisp. They walked slowly through the airport, shoulders brushing, both knowing that the gate they passed through had opened more than just a flight. The arrivals terminal. Daniel hesitated. "Listen," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm not the kind of guy who says things he doesn't mean. So if I ask to see you again, it's not just because the flight was delayed." Clara looked at him, heart pounding. "I wouldn't want it to be." He smiled. "Coffee next week?" She nodded, but only if there's no flight involved. They exchanged numbers, and before they parted, he leaned in and kissed her forehead, not possessively, not urgently, just tenderly, as if sealing a letter he would send to her heart later. That night, in her flat, Clara sat by her window with her sketch pad. She didn't draw the runway, or the planes, or even his face. She drew a hand, palm up, waiting, because sometimes love doesn't arrive with thunder or grand gestures. Sometimes it arrives with a delayed flight and a window seat. Dove, and in the quiet moments between departures and arrivals, two lives began to change forever.